What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. The markets again are just making all-time highs. It's quite crazy the way the market's been moving recently. All-time highs after all-time highs, and the same goes with our portfolio. Today we peaked up around close to 5K again. This is following after last Friday or so we went up about 10K on a single day. So we actually ended up not staying up at the 5K levels, but we still ended up 0.49% up on the day, still looking at some nice gains as well. So the market's doing pretty well, and we have a lot to talk about. There's Nvidia news, partnership with OpenAI, that's pretty major. There's also some other news as well that falls quite closely to pharma news, in other words, relating to Pfizer. We're going to talk about that and the implications on some of the moves in the markets and other companies that would be affected as well. We're also going to talk about some things that we shared in the Discord today, and so we're going to hop into the video. But before we do, why should you listen to anything that I have to say? My name is Jason Wathe. I am indeed a random guy on the internet, but I am a random guy that in the last year has been defeating the Nasdaq and the S&P by over 100%. Nasdaq up 28% in the last year, the S&P up 20% in the last year, while my portfolio is up 131%. In the last 3 years, we're up 200%, beating the Nasdaq as well, and also beating the S&P 500. And also looking on a max 5-year range, I'm up 741% in this portfolio, and the Nasdaq is up 161%, and the S&P 124, which are great gains. But I think you'd agree that 700% is a lot better. And that just goes to show that I know a little bit about the markets, and I love sharing that knowledge with all of you. All I ask for is a like and subscribe. I'm happy to share this information so that it can help change your lives and your family's lives. And wish and hope you the best as the market is continuing to make all-time highs right now, but at the same time we want to make sure that we're positioning ourselves accurately. So we're going to talk about some of the advice that I shared with the Discord, with my private chat as well over here, so that we can be positioning ourselves nicely. So with that, we're going to hop right in, and we'll start off right over here with Nvidia. Nvidia soars on OpenAI deal. This is major. By the way, today Nvidia was up 3.97%, and OpenAI, and they're coming into a $100 billion investment with the company. As a result, Nvidia was up 3.7%. So that was quite significant. Nvidia was down last week and up coming towards the end of the week as well. But that sent Nvidia to some nice levels, as we noted out here earlier. We marked out these levels last week, and as you can see, those levels were touched to the T, in fact, just today. So that's nice to see. Lots of things that we're preparing to do as we've come to these levels, and we're going to be alerting the Discord of that as well. And in other words, in the medical environment with pharma, Pfizer said that it would buy Metsera, can't pronounce that, Metsera, and its pipeline of medicine to potentially treat obesity in a deal initially valuing at $4.9 billion. So the payout for Metsera, I think I said it right that time, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but investors could go up sharply if its candidates win approval from federal regulators and achieve other milestones. So that's interesting. So on the news, Metsera's still can't speak today. Its stock jumped 60%. And Pfizer edged up only less than 0.1%. So always interesting to see these acquisitions take place, and how the company doing the acquisition is barely affected, while the acquired company always soars. So that's always interesting to see. So lots of implications there as well. So that's something that happened here with Pfizer. And if you've invested in Metsera, big kudos to you, because you definitely popped off on that. So congratulations to Metsera investors. We're going to move on to some of our plays that we've been watching closely. So today we looked at Uber. We recommended Uber sometime last month, and Uber had gotten hit. We mentioned this last week, but it had gotten hit with the news that Lyft was merging and expanding with Waymo. Not merging, but doing some expansion in Nashville. So that came up last week, and it sent Uber stock tumbling, but it has recovered nicely. And as I pointed out and mentioned in the video last week, we ended up making all-time highs. So we were sitting for a while at 101 and peaked down to 99 when the overall market started pulling back a little. This pullback is quite interesting because with all of the momentum that's been going on in the market recently, a pullback is definitely needed. It's expected, but we can also say needed. It would be nice to see the market continue to soar like this, but at the same time, it's hard to believe that it will continue doing like this. The market ebbs and flows and continues to make highs, but also should make higher lows. And then oftentimes it's very healthy for the market to pull back and dip, because also those present buying opportunities. So we need that to continue to happen in the market. But what a lot of people are thinking, and my personal opinion too, is that since September seasonally is a negative month for the market, it hasn't been so far. So what might actually happen this year, we might see a pullback happen in October, and that might actually be in place of the usual seasonal September pullback. Because of just how euphoria is in the markets, the rate cuts, all of that, it may have postponed the expected pullback. So we'll see how October goes. In my opinion, we might see the pullback then, or probably coming closer to October or this last half of September. But it'll be interesting anyways to see how that develops. But again, coming back to Uber, we were up quite nicely. We got the screenshots. We were sitting on 101, that new all-time high for Uber, and that's $704 extra for us, up 31%. So this is a play that we were down, I think, about maybe like 10% sometime last week. So very nice to see that. And yes, let's move on to, I didn't get an in-depth screenshot of my Shopify call, but you will recall that last week we talked about Shopify, how it was moving. This was the screenshot that we left you all. We were up 37%. So as you can see, the progression is nice. As we drew out, we can see 47%. But as we drew out on the charts with Shopify charts, if we come over to its charts, we can see that we dropped down to the 50% gap that we had marked out for Discord, and also let YouTube know as well after the fact. But we recovered nicely from this area that we drew out, and then went back to all-time highs. For reference, I got into this trade around this area right over here, and as soon as I got in, it seemed as if like a couple days later that it immediately was up. I was up about like 70% on the trade, but I let it pull back, and I didn't have as many contracts in at this point, so my initial I wasn't able to actually fill in this position, because my idea when I was getting into this trade was, it was going to be around here for a little bit and I was going to enter more contracts, but it went up so fast. And again, I'm not complaining, but it didn't allow me to fully create my position size. So this pullback presented a nice opportunity to add into this trade, and now we are up and we are averaging a very nice percentage yield, 47% on this one trade that we put in just last month. So great to see, and really great to experience those type of gains. When you know what you're doing, you can benefit from those trades. So it's always good to mention those things. And we can also talk about our other percentage gains. Obviously, SoFi is a big winner for us. SoFi is doing tremendously. Let's talk about SoFi for a little bit, actually, because SoFi is up 198%. We're looking at 200%, almost dead in the eyes right now, and the chart is just up and off to the right. So in 5 days, it's been up 9.39%, and today was up 1.02%. It actually got up to all-time highs at 30. We peaked up around 30.23 or so, 30.22, around these areas, 30.27. So we called out that SoFi could get to these levels, and we're seeing that play out real nicely. So we're going to be watching for it. On the other day, I made a video about SoFi. Go ahead and check that out. Talked about at one point the stock will actually crash, and where that will be. So go ahead and check out that video on this channel as well. In other words, Tesla is also performing quite amazingly, up 1.91%. Again, Tesla stock topped $440 in early trade hours today. So it was up 4%, but ultimately closed up 1.9% at 434, topping its prior $2025 closing high of $428, reaching on January 15th. So Tesla stock is now higher over 9 of the last 10 trading sessions. So that's very great to see. In the past month, shares are up over 30%, with recent news like Elon Musk's $1 billion share purchase. So we talked about that last week. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. In my humble opinion, I would be taking profits on Tesla at this moment. The fundamentals aren't really matching up with what this stock is doing. It's great to see, and as an owner, and this is the reason why I still have my runners in this stock. I've taken most of my gains out of Tesla, but we're still sitting on about 80%. This used to look like, I think, like probably over 1,000%. But these are gains of all the recent buys of maybe the last year or so. Purchases on Tesla. So it's nice to still have that 80% gain, but at the same time, I'm taking profits on Tesla. Not going to be expecting that these levels are holding for much longer. That does not mean that Tesla couldn't inflate and go up to some of these levels, 465, 488. It can definitely probably reach up there on just momentum, pure momentum as it is, just because we've seen that happen with Tesla. Tesla doesn't operate like normal stocks. It's very momentum driven. So just a warning for all investors there as well. Me personally, I'll be taking some gains on Tesla. Moving over to Palantir up nicely in the last few days, reaching and closing back into all-time highs, getting up into those levels, 180. Looks like Palantir was down today. As we could see, it was down 1.68%. So interesting to see that happen. The overall market did pull back. Like we said in the beginning, the market blasted up higher today, and my portfolio definitely reflected that. As we talked about in the beginning, we were up about almost 5%. I mean, not 5%, but 5K, but 1.5%. And we ended the day just up 5% pretty much. So still gains on the day, but expecting a pullback soon, expecting a pullback very soon. So moving on to some of the advice that we mentioned for Discord. And this goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about, risk management and inflation watch. Since inflation is still above target and the Fed might not cut as fast as the market hopes, or may take a wait and see position, the Fed might take, it's good to protect your downsides. So that means, having good stop loss levels, position sizing, perhaps using option strategies. We talk about that in the Discord as well. So you might want a protective put or big positions. Now that this does depend on the size of your portfolio. If you are still building up the level and trying to scale your portfolio, you might not really need to worry too much about puts. You might just want to be taking some gains at some of these levels. No problem in trimming at some of these levels where we're very high and valuations are very stretched and rich. At the same time, I can't say stretched particularly because the earnings are some of the earnings for these companies are doing quite well. So we can't say that it's completely unwarranted, but at the same time, the market is at all-time highs, and a pullback is definitely probably going to happen soon. So be ready for volatile reactions around the PCE release on Friday. So keep that in mind. News coming in, the PCE release that could swing the markets, and opportunities on weakness / pullbacks. So if some of the high flyers dip, that might be an opportunity, especially in tech. Some of the tech and growth names might give some good entry opportunities. So we talked about some of the stocks that I've been alerting in our investment alerts section might be presenting good opportunities. And I alerted our group earlier today of one of the investments that I mentioned that is actually in a good entry opportunity right now. So also smaller or mid-cap value might outperform when growth is under pressure. So it's good to think about diversifying. So that could be good. So those are some things that we'll mention right here on YouTube. The rest we'll probably mention a little bit later, but it's always good to do that kind of work and have that kind of mindset as we're going in here. And just as an update to volatility is something that can be taken advantage of in the futures market. So this is a trade that we took just this last Friday. We made 2.4K on the movement here. As the market dripped down, we came up into these levels, and it just presented the perfect entry opportunity. So we entered up here. I wanted to enter another contract, as you can see, but we never got filled. But that's quite all right. We already were reaching towards our sell limits, and so yeah. That was just good. Always good to diversify your skill sets, the things that you are able to do in the market, the things that you're able to take advantage of become bigger because you've learned more skills. And these are skills that once you learn, you will never be able to unlearn them. So always great to mention that. And if you want to be able to learn those skills one-on-one, and have a good space to ask questions, see me break down my strategies, my portfolio, really just give you good sessions, multiple sessions and brain dumps. In the link in the description, you'll see that link there for one-on-one sessions. I encourage you to check those out. They're very valuable and will help get your trading to a higher level. When you're going through the questionnaire, make sure to answer as much questions as possible, because I do try and make it as personalized to each individual as well as I can. So with that, I want to close this video out. Thank you guys for watching. I hope all the best with your investing and trading and financial endeavors. And with that, we'll close this out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.